everybody, welcome back. Episode number 2 of your favorite topic of all times, which is resumes. We broke down the first half, but episode number 2 of the Hire and Fire podcast brought to you by Pyra Consulting. Jeremy Miller here, your host, I guess. That's true, but weird. Co-host. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Amanda Anderson is here. She's going to be our friendly co-host as well.
Hi, everyone.
We did the intro last time, so if you missed it, we're just not doing it again. That was a one-time deal, right? So It was a one-timer. So we did an entire episode on a bunch of stuff having to do with resumes, and we kind of covered some of like the...
Should recap, yeah.
Well, we could recap it here. So I don't know if I have that in front of me, which is great planning in regards to what we're going to cover. But we talked about everything from titles to how many pages and
cover letters which we deemed fuck cover letters.
That was the official thing, except for this super weird caveat, but that's almost irrelevant. And then today we're going to go through some more detailed stuff having to do with like, what do you make sure your resume matches LinkedIn? Maybe. Okay, how about this one then? When do you do months and years on your job description versus just years? And is it ever okay, or when is it okay? We'll go through some other stuff. We got some staffing news and notes on some stuff going down in the business world, which affects hiring and firing, hence the show title. We have a segment we call #Triggered, which we're going to tell a couple of fun stories.
Thanks, Obama.
And then we're going to get back to the actual news and notes. First off, I'm loving the new soundboard that we got on here, and I'm going to try not to be obnoxious with it. But my favorite absolute thing is my daughter Emma, 17 years old, is a Snapchat, Instagram queen. So basically when you hang out with her, you're constantly watching her take selfies of herself, and she gets really funny stuff on occasion. So she played me a video of her and her friends a couple days ago, and this was the background laugh. Which just cracks me up.
So great.
I mean, listen to the trail end of this sucker. I mean, come on. So we could not stop laughing about it. I told her point blank, I'm stealing this for the show because it's too good. So that's going to be our laugh sounder whenever it's applicable. So that's what we'll affectionately call Emma's friends laugh. Anyways, that's basically it. The second thing that we wanted to go through was this triggered thing. So I have a couple of stories. Some of these we want to make sure are like super relevant to hiring, firing, management, etc. And they'll all be relevant in some regard. This first one is just business. Like, what are we doing? And actually, spur of the moment, I'm adding in another one, and I'm going to trigger the hell out of you. #Triggered, and I think you know where I'm going with this.
Thanks, Obama.
You're welcome. And anywho, my first one is Valley Frickin' Fair. So if you're not from this town, that's our amusement park. You know, most like big cities have one, right? And it's pretty legit. It's gotten big over time. And I used to live in the city that it's in. So I'm like long time season ticket holder guy.
Everyone in Minnesota has been to Valley Fair.
Absolutely,
like you go,
right?
You go.
So wherever you are, you're picturing whatever affectionately you would view your like home amusement park, right? So anyways, I have a lot of opinions about it, and I used to be season ticket holder guy. And I moved a little ways away, but I got one inspired by the girl that I'm dating who loves it. So I was like, screw it, because basically, you know how season passes go. If you like go twice, you pay for it. It pays for itself.
Sure.
So because of COVID, this silly company came up with the idea of doing reservations, which at first totally thought was going to be legit. Why did we think it was going to be legit? Like capping the total number of entrants, right?
Yeah.
So I'm picturing like short lines and easy access and like get off roller coaster, go right the hell back on, which did not work out that way. So I'm a little confused. So even if you have a season pass, you have to get an online reservation. So you cannot just decide I'm going to Valley Fair today.
Right.
Drive there, buy ticket, go in. Like you could buy it when you go there, but you have to have a reservation in advance. So I'm thinking about going this weekend. Look on their stupid app. They don't have a weekend available open reservation for like almost a month.
Right.
A month. I already bought this stupid ass season pass. And the next chance I can use it, is like the second week of July, which as of recording is a full 3 weeks from now.
Right.
So I have a season pass that I already bought and I can't go. Now I think at the beginning it was like I thought it was a COVID limit guest thing.
But now
it's like control.
So once we started to loosen up, you couldn't go anywhere without a reservation, right? You couldn't go to a restaurant.
Right.
Valley Fair would be an example. Lots of places had occupancy limits. We're doing 50% capacity, blah, blah, blah. So, like, I get it then. But now
it's stupid. Now it's
hey, I have all these people's money for season tickets.
Yeah. And I can limit the number of employees I have on staff
correct.
If I know exactly the number of customers that correct. I'm going to have.
The only way to combat that, basically, and it's if you have the foresight, and maybe now you could do it for the rest of the summer, but you have to almost book reservations for the whole summer.
Who the hell wants to do that?
No one. And
I'm like Mr. Schedule OCD guy.
Well, and I'm Miss Spontaneous, so that would never work with my schedule.
Yeah.
Like, just planning a trip would be like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do that week.
So 5 days a week,
Get some
11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So
also
it used
shit
to be
hours.
Like 11 to 10 p.m. at least, and then weekends would go till midnight. Now, I can understand a little bit because you're guinea pigging. Like, what if you have it open till 10 and there's like 9 people there?
Correct.
So I can understand, but like now they're not adjusting. So that annoys the living shit out of me. It's basically like how have you either not listened to your customers, which is bringing it back to the business world, right?
Right.
Or why in the hell do you have a limit on occupancy if you don't give a shit if there's a fuck ton of people in hour-long rides in the first place? What's the point?
So they have capacity all the way up? Or can you don't know?
So. I mean, I've only been there, I guess I've only been there once, but I was there on a Saturday. We had the reservation, so I followed the system. When you bought passes, you used to get tickets to the park and tickets to the water park, which is a miniature part inside of it, right? Like it's not a separate location. Now they separate it. So if you want a reservation, you can get a Valley Fair only reservation, or you can get a Valley Fair and quote unquote Soak City reservation. Why? What does it matter? And now they have a separate entrance to the water park that's like locked out. So they have 3 employees standing there checking reservations if you have Soak City. So you're already
Wasn't it the normal entrance?
No, it's the normal thing, but they put a gate up. Well, so now you have to go through and you have to show your reservation. Like, what in the hell?
I think this is just an opportunity for people to change their business model. Look at Chipotle. Change.
Oh, yeah, see? I didn't even say what I brought up and you knew where I was going.
Change their business model because this was the opportunity to do it.
So dumb.
Lots of frustrated
I wish I had a dumb
people.
sound effect to play, and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So explain real quick what the hell you're referring to, because almost everybody wants to murder somebody when they experience this. But if you haven't yet, listen to this happy horseshit.
Yeah. So nowadays, if you want Chipotle, you cannot spur of the moment just go run into any of their locations.
Cannot. They are not a walk-in takeout location anymore.
They have some locations that are drive-through at this point, and some that you can still go into, but they will not take your order in the restaurant, in the facility. You have to purchase your food online.
Yeah, so when you walk in, what did you experience the first time you experienced
So
this?
we were hanging out. You and I were hanging out.
Yeah.
I go... he's going to get kids' food over at McDonald's. I'm going to do the jaunt over to Chipotle and get Jeremy and I's dinner.
Adult food.
Adult food.
Even though I love McDonald's.
I know,
Seriously.
but we wanted to feel less guilty about our choices.
Well, maybe I went to McDonald's the day before, which is probable. Anyways,
Probable,
continue.
for real. So I walk in, and I'm the one that's supposed to be back first because I'm like the jaunt is
it's
it's
right
so
there.
close to your place. And so I walk in and everyone's standing around and it's like a morgue in there.
Yeah.
And I look on the door and it says online ordering only. And they have the sanitize thing in front of the door you'd walk
Thanks,
in.
Obama.
Seriously.
That you would walk in. And I don't have the app, right? And so I turn to a guy and I'm like, is this for real? Like I can't just go order some food? And he goes, yeah, you got to go.
17 people behind the counter You're not allowed to walk up.
Not allowed to walk up. So I had to leave the restaurant, go. I mean, I didn't have to leave. I could have sat in there. But I go on the street, sit on a bench, and I first have to download it. Then you have to either create an account.
That's fun.
Or do a guest.
Yep.
And then you have to order within the constraints of the app.
Oh.
Right? So thankfully, they added the quesadilla because as of 6 months ago, quesadilla was not even on the app.
I thought that was online order only for the quesadilla,
No.
which weirded me out months ago.
No,
Anyways.
I know that it wasn't because my son will only eat a quesadilla from there.
7-year-old. Right.
And we wanted to order during COVID, and I couldn't get him the quesadilla during COVID because it was the only thing on the menu that wasn't on the app online. So they have since edited that and added it, but it was, and then you have to wait and wait.
Angry.
And wait. Angry.
In this weird
and hungry because
doctor's office type setup where no one's eating there and we're all staring at each other.
And you're getting hangry.
That
for
had
sure.
been so much fun despite your own anger of watching other people walk in and go, son of a bitch. Like, I mean, because no advertising campaign.
That we're aware of.
No, nothing. Like, hey, this is where we're going.
I don't know where they did advertise it because
I
some people knew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I looked online and
Probably
there was some stuff online of like, they're doing digital kitchens, they called it.
Oh boy.
Digital kitchen. They're revolutionary and blah, 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 marketing.
Let's go positive for a second. So why would you do it? All right, you're a business. Why would you do it? Okay, so you can limit customer contact, which could argue like that might be easier, less complaints. Your employees aren't managing money, so you have no more till, no more lines.
No more like maybe off tills. Maybe they were having a lot of like avoiding theft.
Totally. You could arguably shrink your employee size because you don't need people working the register. It's just food assembly. But you probably still need coordinator person with that rack that they have for all the pickups. Eventually, they can probably shrink restaurant sizes.
Right. You don't need it. You literally could be just a little hut.
Right. Downside, pissed off customers is not good. Like, that's not good.
And when you're hungry, was it us or maybe someone else I hung out with, and we were just all of a sudden like, I want to eat. And I'm standing in front of two restaurants. One's Chipotle and one's, a restaurant with normal business procedures.
Which is slow takeout, as you would guess.
And we're like, I'm going to go
quicker.
Well, no, I'm saying I don't want to order on the app and wait 20 minutes.
Right.
So I'm going to go.
Normally it'd be quicker.
Normally I would go, like Chipotle. Like I love Chipotle.
So like where's the corporate America stuff that I hate with like massive surveys and all that good stuff? Like who said this was a good idea? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's just oversight from the ivory tower and it has to do with stock this or that, or I mean
but online they're calling it revolutionary.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Of course.
They're trying to spin it. And it's like, I don't know. I think one of the allures of it was when it first came out was that you get to watch your food being made. That was the whole thing when Subway came out. If like you didn't have this like someone in the back making your food and it comes out, it was you get to watch of like, oh, that's too much. Oh, I want more.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. Chipotle.
You're fired!
So that's ridiculous. Hashtag triggered Valley Fair with their shenanigans reservation. And geez, okay, so that kept playing on me. Sorry about that. Thanks, YouTube. So long story short, those are two of our triggered. My third one is a recent story for internal employee story, which is super fun. So this is kind of a management 101 type thing. So inside of our business here, we're constantly talking as a staffing organization about what jobs are open and what can we do to help. That's literally what we do. So we find candidates and then our job is to help them through the process, try and reasonably hold our customers accountable to keep that process moving. And then our job is to know all of the stuff that most people don't normally know. What are the candidates thinking? What do the clients really, really want? And then prepare candidates and then give our clients what they're looking for, whether it be the right person or how quickly or certain skills or technologies or experience or certifications or who cares.
Well, even the insight, I saw one of the jobs that just got posted was insight as to why previous candidates didn't make it.
Okay, great. There's another good example, right? So we learn this stuff sometimes the hard way, and then we have to use this to our advantage to help people get the jobs they're looking for. and help our clients find the right person. The best thing about running a staffing business is when we do it right, everybody wins. So the client finds the right person they needed, perm, contract, whatever the skill is. The person getting the job is super pumped because it's the right job for them based on what they're looking for. It genuinely feels good for us to help people, and then we get paid to do so. Like, that's the win-win-win. So we've had a couple of situations recently which very well could be relevant to that. What do they call it? The Great Resignation?
The Great Resignation.
So it could be relevant to that. But nonetheless, like, we've had a couple of scenarios recently where people, aka candidates, at the end of the process are bowing out of a job. So they are literally like about to get an offer or just got an offer and then disappear. And it could be like, I took another job, but sometimes it's like family emergency, which is tough because how do you not believe that? But we're dealing with people and we've been lied to, so we never really know.
Right.
So one of our internal employees like was really getting like frustrated. He was starting to short circuit about this because we had a couple of clients doing it, but it wasn't relevant to him or his clients. And he was kind of jumping on a little bit of a high horse, but I think his intentions were good. Like, I want to help. So like, let's talk about how we could better know like candidates. Do they have other jobs? What is their timeline? Like, how can we control the process? But it wasn't really being heard well.
Right.
It was being perceived as being like a little
judgy.
A little judgy, a little like preachy, whatever you want to call it. So long story short, literally the same situation happens to him. So now here I am, boss guy, right, running this meeting, talking about this, and he was the person recently that was
justifying,
trying to explain how we can do this better to other people, and then now it happens to him, and then he just easily tries to justify it.
Right.
So I was calling him out, being like, what are you talking about, man? Like, how come it's okay for them to experience this, but it's not okay, but it's okay for you?
Yeah.
So this hashtag triggered was literally on me because I'm listening to this going like, this is hypocrisy at its greatest height, but it wasn't exactly being received well. So I, as manager guy, had to make it kind of weird and awkward.
And I'm listening in the other room.
I know you are. I know. And I'm not normally that guy. But
no.
Like, in that moment, it felt appropriate. So
yeah, you were working him over a little this morning.
I kind of had to. I'm not normally that person, but I did. So long story short, everybody was triggered on that one. Just like I was triggered on Valley Fair earlier and had a good bitch session. And then I immediately thought of you with Chipotle.
Yeah.
Chipotle, whatever you want to call it. So that's hashtag triggered. And when you ever get triggered, it's really simple to know whose fault it is.
Thanks, Obama.
Exactly. So thank you for taking the blame, Obama. It's good to feel like it's at least coming from you. All right, so next is staffing news and notes. So we got a couple of articles here that we can go through super quick. And most of these are good news. These are in no particular order, but all like published in the last like couple of weeks or whatever, so nothing super old. So according to this, the economy is back on track in the U.S. and there are record hiring plans following the COVID-19 pandemic. So basically an index of CEOs' plans for capital spending is expected to go literally near historic highs for the next 6 months. Quote unquote, CEO optimism is near historic highs, particularly with record hiring plans. And that's a strong sign that we're climbing out of this unprecedented crisis, right? And that was literally uttered by the president and CEO of Walmart. So evidently, CEOs in general plan on hiring a ton of people. That was a survey that was just taken late May, early June.
Everyone is hiring. Like, you could go into any business now and they're like, please, do you know of anyone? Like,
right.
Everyone's struggling to find people.
Right.
You know, but we're in the upward trajectory. Everything's going closer to normal. It's still
except for Chipotle.
Except for Chipotle and Valley Fair.
What the hell? Yeah, so if we continue with that, a poll by Express Employment Professionals, which is primarily like a temp agency, found that 48% of U.S. hiring decision makers plan to hire recent college grads. So that's interesting.
You know, and I saw articles this morning too that were talking about the 2021 grad outlook is so much more favorable than the 2020 grad.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine a year ago being a college grad?
No,
the world
no,
shut down.
I mean, you're like literally just anybody hire me. I'll work at Chipotle for God's sakes. Seriously. I mean, if this is what it's what's requiring. So it also says 37% plan to hire vocational and career tech graduates. So here's what's interesting about that. It says, however, some college graduates may find difficulty landing a role depending on their degree. So here's the quote. If someone is graduating with a marketing or HR degree, there are probably not a lot of positions out there. But if they're graduating with an engineering degree or from a trade school, there will be work for them.
Interesting.
So the argument is that having let's call it a skill, a trade,
yeah,
is more likely to work. Now, I think with the amount of hiring in general, an HR or marketing focused degree is going to be just fine. But I do agree with the fact that it used to be you either went to school for businessy blah blah blah, or you went to school to be a plumber, or to build PCs, or to do hair, a trade,
yeah.
And I think that's getting more and more popular because school is so flippin' expensive.
You know, the push for trade school has increased in the last few years because there were so many years of a stigma of it's 4-year degree or bust,
or
right?
Why am I
or
even
there
doing
was
this?
It's lower, and honestly, it's not. The trades actually make a really good living if done right.
Yeah, crazy.
Really good living,
Crazy.
And so. I couldn't tell you why, just off the top of my head, of why certain, why marketing might not be, marketing's hard anyway to get into.
Well, okay,
that's just a hard
entry level. Yeah, otherwise you're an intern. This article speculates. This is the quote at least. This is due to the emergence of new businesses, as well as ramp up of hiring from existing businesses across multiple sectors. This should lead to increased employment opportunities in engineering, manufacturing, wholesale, financial services, information technology, and healthcare.
Well, in IT and healthcare will forever just be
totally
increasing.
Totally.
So that makes sense.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Similar article, U.S. hiring plans in Q3, which we're starting basically next week, is the highest since 2000. How about that?
What the hiring is?
Hiring. Employers are ready to bring their workers back as restrictions lift, and America gets ready for the new next in regards to basically hiring. So it also says, yet childcare challenges, health concerns, and competition mean demand still outstrips supply, which is dampening the big return of the American workforce.
I think that's the caveat, is while there's a plentiful amount of job opportunities out there, there's probably fewer within an individual's desires, right? Because our desires are all different. Some people need a really flexible schedule. Some are still scared, want to work from home.
Yep.
Some can't wait to get into the office while certain companies are staying remote, or their teams are remote. There's a lot of, some want a hybrid, some moved.
Yeah.
Some people moved during the COVID going, screw it. Everything's on Zoom. So I just think that while there's lots of opportunities, people are being much more selective in what they're accepting and going after.
Right. And we can see that in our industry. The staffing agency or the industry tends to lead. We experience a lot of changes quickly. At least in my career, I've noticed that. According to this, staffing hours, specifically people working through staffing firms, remain very steady and expected growth ahead. Basically implying that companies that are hiring are utilizing staffing firms to find people, and then also, if you don't know what the hell you need, then it's less risk to bring in a contractor than it is to hire somebody perm.
Right.
Because not only would you have to pay for unemployment and stuff if you let people go, but it's just more difficult to let go of a permanent employee, like it or not. But ironically, when we see recessions, normally those articles you hear about hundreds of people layoffs, those are almost always perm people because that's where the money can be saved. Benefits, taxes, etc. Here's a fun one. U.S. workers quitting in record numbers. Some 4 million U.S. workers quit their jobs in April. Nearly double the number who did 1 year earlier. Now, that's a little misleading because COVID was like 6 weeks in.
And no one was making a move.
Right.
Everyone was like desperately grasping anything.
Right. So if you're an employer, you've probably experienced this already. Like, it is a job seeker's market. And if you're a job seeker, then know that it is your time to shine. So the problem with that is that pay rates, and we talked about a bit this morning, pay rates are a very lagging indicator. So pay rates don't start going up until demand is really, really high and outweighs supply for quite a while. They get desperate. They start buying.
They're like,
people.
I will pay whatever.
They start buying people.
Correct.
Even in COVID, when unemployment was really, really high and there weren't many jobs, it didn't take, there wasn't enough time for pay rates to go down.
Sure.
So even though we didn't have a ton of openings mid-COVID, rates weren't going down yet. So hopefully that continues. Quote unquote, for employers, this is like trying to fill a bucket of water with a hole at the bottom, right? Because people are going to be quitting and you're trying to bring people in and you can't outpace turnover, essentially.
Well, and I read an article too. I kind of glanced at it. It was talking about that there are people who, are using this as the opportunity to make a career shift of like, if I'm not going to do it now, I'll never do it. Yeah. Like, this is the time to, I hate my job, or, there's just, people are
uncertain
so desperate for employees that maybe they'll consider me, with this career shift.
Absolutely.
So there's just a lot more leniency in who we accept because there is no one.
Right.
And so that was kind of interesting. Of like, this might be an opportunity for a lot of people to switch careers.
Yeah. Because I remember the 08-09 recession very, very well. And when we were in the midst of it, recruiters like us had candidates falling out of our pockets.
Yeah.
So when we had job openings, I mean, oh my gosh, did we have an abundance of candidates? And if you weren't the cream of the crop, you weren't getting it. Now, weirdly, you would think it would be the other way around, that they would be a little bit more desperate and hire people that maybe only met, let's just throw out a number, 60% of what they wanted. We have not personally experienced that yet. We have not experienced people being willing to take clients, hiring managers, corporations. We have not experienced them yet, like taking flyers on people. But they're going to have to. It depends on their pain threshold for how much they need somebody in.
How much they're willing to train on the job kind of a thing.
Right. Do I wait 4 months to get somebody in, or do I get in a work in progress and get them out where I need them to
what's
be in?
What's the cost?
Totally.
Like, is the lack of development or help desk support or
lose
whatever.
Customers,
or is it just, I'm just going to eat it and train on the job and hire instead for soft skills.
Right. The last but not least on the articles, CNBC reported this. This is laughable. The move to working remote at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic caused stress for some. Fact. But the return to offices is now causing just as much stress because you got used to it and you like it, and it's the middle of the friggin' summer and you don't want to give up your freedom to go back to the office, but you don't want to lose your damn job either.
It's really nice working on the patio, right?
I know. Can you imagine?
Right.
We're inside. It looks pretty.
It
looks really pretty.
It's quite nice outside.
I would believe it. Right. It also says commuting could prove exhausting to some, while office politics could lead to cynical detachment.
You mean so just back to normal?
Yeah. Workplace distractions could also pose difficulty.
You know what, though?
I mean, come on, of course.
Of course.
I mean, welcome back to reality a little bit, right?
But I think what people are saying is, but why? Why should I? I perfectly did my job, and,
That's the great resignation.
That's where people are going,
literally.
Why? just to make you feel better. And that's, what we're predominantly, in the Midwest, most employers here are saying, come on back to the office. Whereas I think, and I don't know, but I think in more, I don't even want to say it's not liberal, but more just, how would I say that? They're more flexible in what the coasts, because we had talked about this of, if our Midwestern business owners, hiring managers don't loosen up a little bit on the work from home long term, that they're going to have to go remote for the job anyway,
well, right.
or they're going to, because people are going to get stolen from more advanced companies that are going, I don't care, you can work from home.
Right. If one of our main clients wants to bring people back, great, and I support it. I kind of hope they do a little bit, and everybody needs to find an equilibrium. The theme so far seems to be like a Tuesday through Thursday in the office, and then like a Monday, Friday flex scenario. And then I think just over time, eventually some of that will wane, or it'll just be that way where people have like, remote longer weekends, which would be cool.
But I do think it's going that way.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do think it's just going that way, where people, if you are a business owner and you are going, nope, I don't like work from home, we only did it because we were forced to, I believe they are going to have problems maintaining a steady staff because so many people want at least the option.
Yeah, and we had a scenario the other week, and understandably so. There was an individual that has been working from his cabin for like almost a year and a half. And he's like, I don't want to go back. And the reason why I understand how A, that's his personal preference, but B, you're going to have, let's make up numbers, a third of companies being either coming back or all the way back. And then folks like him are going to be like, whatever, man, I'll take a job out of Miami or Salt Lake City.
Right, I can look
Sacramento.
Nationwide.
If they want me remote, it doesn't matter. And obviously technology can support that. And
correct.
We've proved it for, not only for a couple of decades now, but also just recently with all this remote stuff. So it's going to be tough to land people locally if you're going to be stringent on that. It's going to be tough on everybody because you're not really going to know. You're going to have some people that are clear at that from the beginning. We're going to have some clients that are adjusting, and most of our clients are trying to figure it out. It's kind of like a September 1. It's almost like a back to school thing.
Yeah.
Like have the summer, maybe your kids are out of school and you're worried about the childcare thing, which one of those articles mentioned.
Yeah.
So now you're trying to adjust and be like, all right, we're going to shoot for September. Kids are going to go back to school, etc.
We'll see. It'll be an interesting, it'll be interesting to watch it play out. So more on this, I'm sure.
All right, on to the next topic, which is our soup du jour. If you're a Dumb and Dumber fan, it is the soup of the day, and yes, it's delicious. Resumes part 2. So we covered a lot of it in the first because this is a massive topic, and we went fairly quick then, and we're going to go fairly quick now. So some of these topics, I'll throw them out to you. You give me your thoughts, and then we'll see if we agree. So, because we haven't talked about any of this, we just threw out bullet points. So, resumes matching LinkedIn.
You want me to start?
Damn right I do.
All right. So, I'm of the belief that I'm pro digital resume, basically. So I know we need a paper version or whatever that we send to people.
Right.
We're not to the fully digital. You can just send everything.
Yes, you don't need glossy, fancy paper from Kinko's anymore.
No,
but I get your point.
But you still need a hi. I've applied,
Absolutely.
And here's just me on a piece of paper, sort of thing. So I get why we still need it. But I'm of the belief that it should just be pared down, very simple. Here is why I'm a good candidate. I don't think it needs to tell the whole story. I prefer a digital full story where you can expand and people can scroll. You can do Control F and find keywords. Sure. There's lots of things that are quicker for me that I like the digital version.
Hence LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Or personal website that's
touche. That's good.
If you're in information technology, right? You're in IT.
You
What's your
GitHub?
Your GitHub, like
sure.
being able to actually
always
show.
have a Word and a PDF resume that you can download from your site, anyways. Which is a good point.
Absolutely. I think and maybe I'm going too far in this too soon, but I think that we're going to move slowly, granted, but towards having your digital persona, your work being, whether it's on a website or through a company like LinkedIn, where you can just be like, check me out.
Yep.
That
people kind of are anyways.
We're getting there, but
Right.
we still print off the resume.
Damn right we do.
We link little notes. We do all of our normal things that we like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fine. But you can show I can't fit what truly who I am and what I offer on a resume. Like especially if you're going for a creative job, like you have to show examples. But same thing in IT. We're in IT. You can't just have a resume anyway.
Right.
You have to show examples. You need to have like GitHub.
You need to be a little, is the right word, pithy, where like you would normally go in more detail on the body of the job description in a resume than you would on a LinkedIn profile, at least normally. It's not like a Cliff Notes, but it's a little pared down. Would you agree?
That LinkedIn is pared
I
down?
think most people have it a little bit more vague, if not very vague, on LinkedIn compared to their actual written resume.
I would agree. I think I'd like to see that flip-flopped, where it's high notes, like I'm applying for this job, here's all my relevant stuff. For my full history and examples of my work, please see.
And recommendations and blah, blah, blah.
All of that.
Point.
Where it's like, here, I'm going to give you just what's relevant so that you aren't bored with all my superfluous extra. But if you'd like to check out any gaps that are showing and up on this piece of paper, here is everything.
Yeah.
But like, no, I just personal opinion.
No, I get it totally.
But for readers right now, like, unfortunately, the resume is still everything. Like it just is. Like, you guys submit resumes to the hiring managers.
Yeah, there's just kind of like, I would bet that most people would be too afraid to do that because they don't want to be cheapened because everybody else has their resume there.
Right.
From a resume matching perspective, LinkedIn, I think it's super important for the basics. Job, company, titles, dates of employment, like that shit better align. Because if it doesn't, it's not congruent.
You have to like go line, but make sure you're not like, oops,
one
says April, one says May.
Now, in the first podcast we put out there, we already debated a little bit about like different resumes, but we can touch on it again here. I get it. My example on the previous show is if you're a business analyst project manager, you could be one day and one the other day, or you were a business analyst for a 6-month project and then you moved to another company and you were a PM for a year and a half. And I get it that you might want to have a PM resume and a BA resume next to each other. LinkedIn doesn't roll that way. So LinkedIn would need to be kind of your
everything.
Your everything.
Right.
So put yourself as business analyst / project manager.
Totally.
So you just, at a minimum, you want to make sure LinkedIn doesn't contradict your resume.
Correct.
If it does, and by that I mean dates of employment, or if you have jobs listed that you don't on one section or the other, that can be okay, but you typically want to avoid that. Like, list it. Just assume, okay, I'll word it this way. I would say it's a safe assumption to assume that people at some point will look at you on LinkedIn.
Correct.
So at a minimum, you don't want LinkedIn hurting you, you want LinkedIn helping you.
Right. And I think that was my point of like, so I've done a myriad of different things in my career, from sales to management, training,
right,
to marketing, and physical labor, worked on a farm, everybody did it all. So like,
you could check that box of you can lift 50 pounds. I love that.
I can.
Ability to lift 50 plus pounds.
I'll bitch about it, but I'll do it. Yeah. So like I have a very different skill. So if I was going for more of like an office manager position, if I wanted to just change things up or go back into training, I would create a resume that highlighted at my jobs the training that I've done at each of them. I'm probably not going to have a 4-page resume because no one's really going to look at the whole thing.
In that regard, it won't be relevant.
It won't be relevant.
Right.
So it'd be like, here's why I'm relevant, right? And you have all the information. maybe you put in the other jobs in there just so you have all your dates covered. But mostly I think I would put at the top, like, for all of my job history, please look at my LinkedIn with like the simple URL that they can get to.
Oh, does that lead in well? Good job, Radio Queen.
I did.
Does a resume need to include all jobs?
I do not think it does.
Okay.
Personally.
So what do you exclude?
Anything not relevant.
Okay, are you sure? Because we talked in the last episode about like cutting it off, let's just say 15 years. But gaps of employment can really be a problem.
But that needs to go away. It has to, especially now.
Nice wishful thinking.
It has to, but now...
In the reality of the world that we live in, Amanda.
Fair. I think...
Yeah. I thought you were out of a beverage.
No, I'm not out of a beverage. That. I just keep picking up the empty one.
Thanks, Obama.
Exactly.
It's Obama. Thanks, Obama.
So literally, Obama's to blame for most of it.
Look, I get it. I get it.
It does.
That you want all jobs.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the only caveat, which leads into the next topic. So let's mesh them together. Months and years versus just years. So, in my opinion about this, if you need to hide gaps of employment, this is a way.
But people know that then.
Okay, but yes, but at the same time, you can argue at a minimum, you don't want something on your resume that's going to give someone a reason to talk shit on you. So I would argue that you have a little bit more faith in humanity that you should, because if people see gaps, they'll immediately judge you. Fair or not? So if you have gaps and you can avoid it, then you should.
Would this be a good instance where a cover letter would pop in?
No, it is not. Because we have established that no one reads that. I mean, a cover letter? Are you freaking kidding me? Seriously.
But it could explain it.
Come on.
And this is coming from, I agree with the fuck cover letters statement,
covers.
But it's just funny how often it comes up.
I know. So months and years, here's what I do personally as a recruiter, and I'm in management now, but recruiting's been my jam, more so than sales, truthfully. So I work with candidates and I mess with resumes, 12 hours a day for a long time. Always use the months and years if you can.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And then please, for the love of God, can you keep formatting simple? If you put April 2021 to present, then the next job description should not be 09. It's the most annoying thing in the world. So either use the months or use the numbers. One way or the other, use them all exactly the same. Just keep the dang thing formatically? Did I just make up a word? Yeah, I sure did.
Formatted.
Formatted consistently.
Correct.
Whatever you're going to do, just make it consistent.
Formatted.
I know, I made that up on purpose. But so months and years, ideally. Years I would only use if you're looking for reasons to hide stuff. So if you have a job, like you mentioned, that you would want to hide, so follow me just mentally. If you ended a job in February of whatever year, and you had a job, either a job that you didn't want to include or a period of unemployment that you would like to hide, and then the next job on your resume, the one above it, if you can picture that mentally, started in July. So you had a February to July gap, right? Or you had a job like you described that's not relevant, whatever that might be. You can use the years only strategy to get rid of it because you're not talking about months anymore. So one of them ended in, say, 2018. And then even though you had one in between, the next one started in 2018 as well. So in theory, it appears to be a consistent flow of experience. So no, I'm not, no, stop with your thinking already. I'm not intentionally asking anybody to lie. Nobody wants anybody to lie on resumes.
No.
But like it or not, people will judge the living shit out of you.
Correct.
So like it or not, this is a marketing tool.
Well, because you're marketing yourself. The whole thing of this is sales and marketing of yourself.
And unfortunately, most of the sales and marketing on resumes is done when you aren't there to explain it.
The other thing that I've heard some talk on was putting in those gaps on the resume with the explanation, because I don't personally.
Sabbatical,
I think
because my ex-relative was sick, or
it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
The part that I actually get really
people judge.
I get really irritated about. Like, I took time off.
Yeah.
Granted, I didn't take that much time off, but I took some time off for myself. Like if someone is financially secure, or
what's the problem?
What's the fucking
problem?
problem?
Yeah,
what's the fucking problem?
There is no problem. And you could argue in IT and other skill sets too, whether it be engineering or finance or what have you, some of these are contract-based roles, meaning that you could be a contractor forever and do that type of thing on purpose. And I've worked with tons of people that intentionally take a month or two, or say I'm taking the entire summer off because they're making X number of dollars per hour and they're totally cool with doing it and they're smart with money. I agree.
There's nothing wrong with it. That stigma has to go away.
I get it, but
it's
won't.
bullshit.
I just don't think it will.
It's bullshit. Well, but that's where I would push back, like personally with clients, going, this person is great.
Okay, so now you're going to a different road though, because we can do that as a staffing company.
Right.
We can articulate that. When you're going
on your own, you're on your own.
You don't normally have a chance to explain that. You could argue if a cover letter, would be a good idea. But
you could put it on your resume.
You could label it as a job description
of saying like
sabbatical, whatever you want to call it.
Random, like personal sabbatical.
You could even describe it. I'm fortunate to be financially stable and intentionally chose to take the summer off. That would be okay. And I really do think people would understand that and frankly, to a certain extent, be almost a little jealous, I would say.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, most people, almost all, wake up not capable of understanding what it would be like to be unemployed on purpose.
Right.
So they just
I get that. I get that.
They don't have that vision.
I get that, because I think that when I did that, granted it wasn't that long, but I guess for the last how many months I had done part-time, where people were like, well, must be nice. And I'm like, well, I'm not. Like sometimes you're doing it for like, whether it be mental health reasons, family problems, physical health, maybe your health, like it's not always just because because a random person's like, yeah, I'm going to eat bonbons and sit on the deck.
Right.
Like we're human.
But if you're really good at your job and you're engineer, developer, project manager, senior person, and you're making $80-$90 an hour and you want to burn the summer, God love you.
Right.
We're just hypothetically throwing out ideas about when you can use the months and years and when you can.
He's bringing me back to the core topic.
Correct.
Because I birdwalk.
That's okay. That's okay. But at the same time,
but it brought up a
you
bigger.
have to be consistent. So if you're going to do years, it's all
be consistent.
Years. If you're going to do months and years, it's all months and years. And don't lie about that shit. Don't
Correct.
lie about
I agree
that.
completely.
Don't hide a gap by pretending that you started at an employer in March when you really started in August. That
Correct.
is a bad plan.
Do not do that.
So,
however,
with a recruiter, most of us that have been doing this a long time, outside of just a new recruiter, right? No fault to them.
Right.
Anybody who's been doing this for a couple of years at least will be able to give you a coherent opinion, and we do this stuff for free. Outside of executive C-level staffing services where like you pay a couple of grand up front, outside of those scenarios, never, ever pay to have your resume redone. People like us will help you all day long.
Right.
So we're just throwing out ideas and then lean on recruiters if you have good relationships.
This is a little bit. This is relevant to the month-years. I personally.
That's Pyra with a P, IRA consulting. Sorry. Go ahead.
Little plug.
Just of course.
Education dates.
Oh.
I am of the opinion. I put no date.
Okay.
I received my degree. Doesn't matter the year. I do it for multiple reasons.
Okay.
One, ageism.
Yeah, which is a thing.
Yeah.
On both sides of the spectrum, by the way, and we can go into that in a different show.
Correct. And I don't want it. Well, maybe it's just ageism. It would be the big thing, but I don't want anyone to be like, well, they got their degree 20 years ago. So what?
Okay, that's fair as well.
Not,
I would just encourage you, if you're going to do that, to make it painfully obvious, like something like degree acquired, space, label your degree. Because
right.
So it's school. Never freaking finish the damn thing, but they have it labeled and they shouldn't.
School, degree, major.
Yes.
Don't worry about your GPA.
No, like never. Like ever.
Don't worry about it.
Ever. If it's low, welcome to the club, because that was me. If it's really, really high, super proud of you. no one gives a shit. Like no one.
Nope. The Gentleman's
I know
C
that's not fair.
I think it's called the Gentleman's C, where that was the whole thing of like, I don't actually want a valedictorian when I'm hiring because I need someone who can talk to people.
Oh, sure.
I don't want the kid that was stuck in their dorm room, So I'm bird walking again. Just get used to it, everyone.
That's the third time you've used that phrase, and I've known you a long time, and I've never heard you say that before.
Birdwalk?
Yeah, you're making shit up as we go here.
No, I use birdwalk all the time.
Okay, you say so. All right, so that's our discussion on months and years. Here's a couple of smaller things that can be important. I'm just going to absolutely derail on this. Freelancing. So in IT, I've worked with so many people like this. And again, there's obviously other industries. And frankly, your pedigree of marketing is
correct. Big one.
So these are like, I don't care if it's anything from like small clients. I don't care if you were helping neighbors. I don't care if you were just independent or you were through a firm like ours. Whatever way you're structuring it, here's what people do. They will write a job description that's like Jeremy Miller Incorporated and then talk about what they did for a period of time. There's nothing wrong with that, except if you're full of shit. And 50% of the people using it are completely full of shit. So if you're full of shit, stop it, because we know you're full of shit. Mm-hmm. And if you were in our office, I'd be saying, all right, there's one way to fix this, and one way only: name drop clients. Don't worry about dates. All you have to do is client, space, a sentence or two of what you did for them. I don't care if you built them something from scratch. I don't care if you were there for a day and a half. It doesn't matter.
Maybe just fix something for them.
Totally. You could have worked for a 2-person State Farm agency, and then the next day you were at like Apple. Like, it really doesn't matter. If you want to write a self-employed / freelancing job description, the only way to legitimize it is to show clients. And the main reason
otherwise it's a sabbatical. It's sabbatical that's bullshit.
And if you were helping friends and family, great, but that's not good enough. It's just not resume worthy. So if you're going to use it, don't use it to hide dates of unemployment. We're smarter than that. And it just doesn't. Even if you're not using it for that purpose, show clients because it's legit. And understand that most people have ruined this for you. It's not your fault. It's other people ruined it for you, and you have to understand that that's how a lot of people are perceiving it. And if yours is legit, then you need to show how it is so that we don't judge you almost unintentionally.
This is a rampant problem in marketing.
I know.
Of everyone's the owner, CEO, founder of insert their name
100%.
dot whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
Exactly.
And so I've interviewed so many people where I'm like, okay, you're freelancing. Tell me, how do you structure your day? And they're just like they have nothing. And I'm like, you're not a freelancer.
Right. And we're not talking about gutting that job description. We're literally just talking about...
it's just that it's abuse.
Explain a couple of clients because other people have ruined it for you. It's
Correct.
really that simple. Okay. So good. I think we covered that one. A couple of random ones that you may not know is a big deal, but they can be. Here's how I read resumes. We're going straight to bullet points.
Okay.
We talked about in the last episode that bullet points are always better than paragraphs, so we're sticking with that. Now we're talking about the order of bullet points. What is your opinion of order of bullet points?
Ooh.
Would you like me to go first? If I'm putting you on the spot.
Order of bullet points. So
in an individual job description,
right?
What do you put where? Let's say you have 8 bullet points to make up a random number.
I could see this going 2 different ways. I don't have necessarily an opinion on which way's better. So I have low attention span when looking at resumes, as 99% of hiring managers do. You can do one of 2 ways. You can either go with largest percentage of your job, highest to lowest, or my favorite is most impressive thing you have accomplished.
Ooh, okay.
Because I'm probably only reading a bullet or 2, to be honest. I'm so bad.
Unless like a buzzword catches you.
Unless I'm like really excited about this candidate, I'm gonna really go in. But I'm scanning.
And the reason why we scan is because, believe it or not, like, we're doing this on purpose because you get a feel. The company name, do I know them? Your job title, does that intrigue me? And then what about what you were doing? Does it kind of match? Does it fit? There's like a feel to the scan. We're not scanning because we're bored immediately. It's just it's a lot of words, and you're trying to digest it.
Like if you have a director title, but everything's that you were on a team, you know, I started.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like there's been. I feel like I should sneeze, everybody, so I apologize.
Should we wait? I'm a 2 sneezer every time.
I'm a 3. Okay, I'm feeling good. All right, okay. So
I only have 2 blessings to give you, so you're going to get an FU on the 3rd one. Continue.
When I'm reading that, I want to see what you did. So if your bullet points, you know, if you have 8 bullet points, let's say 6, whatever, you better put what you did personally at the top.
Okay.
So but I get it if 80% of your job is working on a team and you're just, you know, pushing out work and whatever. I get that. But like highlight the stuff that you did if you want to be set apart. That's my opinion. Yeah, I would. That's how I would do it. I would highlight something impressive. I don't want to see what your job description. I don't want to see the job description. I want to see your accomplishments and what you've done there.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but I'm in marketing. So for marketing, that's
sure.
That I don't care if I don't care if you've done. These are your responsibilities.
Yeah.
I want to know what you accomplished.
Don't, for the love of God, copy bullet points from your frickin' job description that you found from
which
a
I
year
think
and a half ago. Some people do. It's
most
terrible.
People do.
I know. Most people.
I
hope not.
That's what I see. Of like, here was what my job entailed.
Well, okay, you could use it as a use the job description that you like have of your job to get your mind going, but then you write your own words, please.
But here's the thing. Here's I don't care what your job description was, because I've had people come into a job and not succeed.
Or
and then some that succeed. Do you both put the same thing because your job description's the same?
Good point.
No.
Okay, good point.
You candidate A who didn't do crap for me.
And you're talking accomplishments.
Accomplishments.
I
took client A to, raised, my book of business. Now, granted, I'm coming from marketing. So, when I was hiring and firing, it was in marketing and digital marketing. And so I wanted to know, like, what have you learned, accomplished, initiated, changed? I don't care if you had to send reports to clients once a month. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Everybody has to do that.
Okay, so IT is probably a mix of the two, because it's a little bit of like, we need to know what your duties were, what languages were you developing in, which operating systems was your thing, et cetera, et cetera. I'm of the opinion I agree with you, it's a twofold thing. You're either putting the bullet points in hierarchical order of what you spent the most time on. So the first one being the biggest chunk, and then ipso facto, the 8th bullet point is a little bit more of a every once in a while duty.
Yeah.
Or you can accurately and with a clear conscience put them in the order that puts you in the best light on your resume. So again, if you want to use it as a marketing tool, you can. So order those bullet points accordingly. So a stupid example, let's say you were a desktop support guy and you're running around the corporation doing anything from imaging new PCs to fixing second level tickets, blah, blah, blah. And then every once in a while you did some like light security duties, setting up IDs, etc. Or you got to work with the sysadmins on blah, 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 blah. That might be what you want to do next. So you might want to emphasize that. Even though in reality it was 15% of your job, that will help you get the next role. So you could call yourself a desktop support administrator / associate systems administrator. And I'm just making things up off the top of my head. But you could also go with the accurate, honest, quote unquote, honest style of what you were doing the most. So again, it's whatever. So if you're at the point of your career where you're trying to make a leap, which happens like 6 times, in a career, then you might want to order those suckers to support you in where you want to go. Or if you either want to stay where you are, you're looking for a lateral move, or you're not looking to jump up, then you might want to emphasize how you walk on water with this shit. And you could walk in and crush it immediately, which can make you super marketable. It just depends on what you're trying to do. That's what I would argue.
The other side of this that I have, kind of a olive branch to those who maybe don't feel like they are the rock stars, but that they are a solid employee.
Most people, frankly. Statistically.
Like,
easy for me not to
this
say.
could feel, I could see this being very like daunting of like, well, no, I didn't, raise our security by 400%, or I didn't decrease, and that's a weird statement, but like, just, you know what I mean? Like they don't have anything qualitative or quantitative.
Which is okay. But
which is okay.
Yeah, it's very okay.
What I would say is, highlight the fact maybe of your dependableness or willingness, or your ability to learn different languages on your own time and your desire to,
right.
There's things that you can highlight, because remember, you are selling yourself, and that's not everyone's skill set.
Right. So if you go with the security example, you might have been one of the 8, and I'm making up things, systems administrators that was almost being groomed to move to the security team. So yeah, you didn't set up the dang security framework for the organization, but you were clearly handpicked to be kind of an up-and-comer. So again, maybe you put that at the top bullet point. Just have it, of course. But if you have one of your main skills listed at the bottom of a job description, that's a little weird. Unless you're trying to diminish part of what you're doing now and emphasize
where you
the
want to
other
go,
part, which
something.
is where you want to go,
Yeah.
right? So again, these are all subjective things. We're just throwing out the thought process about what you do. Next, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, because this is a friggin' problem in IT. Random bolded words.
I do have an opinion on this.
You do. Go.
But
you want me to go first?
Well, it is absolutely more prevalent in the IT industry.
No,
like
there's a specific reason.
It's obnoxious how many are bolded.
Yeah,
I will agree.
At some point, we should bold the whole thing. I mean, that's what it starts to feel like.
However, from my, again, low attention span, I kind of like that they highlight things that will bring my eye.
Oh my God. Are you a kindergartner? Seriously.
I'm such a scanner.
All right.
I am, but when we're writing our blogs, I'm always like, how do I highlight this one section so someone can scan? Because you guys, from the marketing standpoint, I have 3 seconds. I have 3 seconds to captivate a person. So resumes are not that different. It might not be 3 seconds, but it ain't that much more. So I get what they're doing.
Yeah, no. The intentions are good, but
I think it's swung too
cheap.
far.
It's cheap because, if you want to accomplish that, then you just need to spend more time and make it pop somehow. The reason why this sucks in IT is, for those of you who aren't familiar, a lot of individuals are coming from overseas, right? There's a lot of Indian talent, and name your country, but just generically, Indian-based developers specifically are very common. See, these are folks that are on visa, they're a citizen of a different country, but they're eligible to work here, but they don't have a green card, they don't, they're a temporary visa. Mm-hmm. Most commonly is what's called H-1B. These folks kind of ruined it for everybody, which frankly, it's not even really their fault, it's their employers. So staffing companies like ours, we don't sponsor visas. In order to have a visa, you need to be sponsored by somebody. An employer needs to sponsor you to even get the paperwork going. Staffing firms almost never do this. And organizations, Fortune 500 companies, almost even less do this. So staffing firms will utilize these people, but we're getting them from third-party individuals, and we're doing our normal vetting, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of these resumes are what we affectionately call alphabet soup, because there's 37 bullet points per job description, which is nauseating. And this is the most common time where you see random bolded words. And tenured recruiters like me are immediately highlighting bullet points and Control B to get rid of those bullet points, or get rid of those bolded words, because it's silly. So if you
it's a ton, because I saw one. I'm not from this industry originally,
which is different.
So when we launched the website and we started getting resumes coming in through the website, I would look at them.
Yeah, of course.
And then we had a really impressive one come, but she was Indian, I don't know based, but just that was her hair, where she's from originally.
Yeah.
It was 8 pages or more of technologies that she had, what she had all done.
She's done it all. Right.
She's done it all. And every page probably had 40 bolded words.
Random.
And I was...
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
I was like, oh. I didn't know what to think. I know. It was a lot.
And again, we're not blaming any individual.
She's a great candidate. She's a great candidate. It was fine.
I can anecdotally blame somebody who's sponsoring her, but I don't even think that's fair. The reality is that it just doesn't look good, and we know that, and our clients know that, so we're getting rid of it. So if you're submitting your resume directly, it doesn't look great, and then we are intentionally removing that because it just looks more professional. So please don't randomly bold words. And if you're feeling the desire to do so, which is kind of what you're mentioning, right? Like you want to emphasize something.
How do I highlight?
How can I do that without bolding it? So you might just want to write maybe 3 bullet points about that particular skill. So if you're super amazing at Windows Server 2012, then write a few bullet points about that and your virtualization experience and your cloud and
This is where I believe that you can have, if you have that much skill, like that much, you can have personalized resumes.
Sure.
Because at that point...
You mean per job.
Per job.
Custom resume per job. Yep.
Because at this point, you want to emphasize what that particular employer gives a shit about. Because they don't care about the other 6 pages.
And most employers that actually are really good at this stuff, so like they're the ones interviewing you, so like not like the random manager that doesn't get it and then has you interview with the tech lead. Like the people that actually get it are reading these, and they will literally tell us there's no way he or she knows that much because I don't even know half this stuff. Yeah. Right? So
well, and this is the jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. And then that's not that valuable because you can just scratch the surface on all this stuff.
So you don't really know anything.
You don't really know anything well. And you should specialize in that. I feel like, shouldn't you specialize?
Well, we didn't talk about this, but the basic rule of thumb is that most of the time, the larger the company, the more specialized your job becomes. So the bigger the company, the more they want you to be a master. The smaller the company, the more they really appreciate the jack of all trades. And if you had to pick one, you'd rather be coming from a big company because that translates better to small company.
Sure.
Sometimes you can be devalued if you're a small company guy or girl, and then you're trying to get into the Fortune 500 company. But in general, please do me a favor and don't bold words. Okay, last but not least, these are just kind of generically in one category, so we'll throw them out. Like, what do you do on your resume with things like hobbies and volunteering and strength finders and just kind of like stuff about me? Oh, she got triggered.
Hashtag triggered on this for me.
Oh, boy. And we know who to blame. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Obama.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, that's Obama's fault.
Okay. So I'm going to go off here a little bit. So I've mentioned this in marketing when I've hired many digital marketing specialists, digital marketing support specialists. And I cannot tell you how, so we're all trying to be a unicorn. Everyone's trying to be a unicorn. And so they're putting all these things to try and separate themselves. And I get that. That's what we do. That's the whole point, right? But
oh my gosh, if you could see it right now.
Do not call yourself a unicorn. I cannot tell you how many resumes I've read that were like, I'm an SEO unicorn. I'm a marketing unicorn. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are a college grad
Oh.
who have no idea what this job
Really
entails.
proud of your 3.8 GPA, though. Super proud.
Yeah. Glad you
Super
got a
proud.
3.8.
I know.
I didn't.
Yeah, but in general, like, I'm cool with it. If you want to put, like, this is a great thing for LinkedIn profiles. Hobbies, volunteering, etc. Shows a little bit about you.
I agree.
Strength finders, like, a lot of people know what that is. What's the other one where you're like the ENJP or whatever? What do you call that stuff? Is that like
I have no idea.
I
don't know what they are.
Someone's screaming at us right now, but they know exactly what that is. But like hobbies, volunteering, strength finders, whatever those things are that you would almost always put at the bottom of your resume, totally cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it deserves to be at the bottom. It's kind of anecdotal. It's a little bit about you. I don't put those on my personal resume, but I do have some of those listed on LinkedIn. These are things that I don't even do anymore. Things that I used to do a lot of volunteering at running like fundraisers and stuff like that, like really involved, basically project managing several $100,000 fundraisers, like, and I take a lot of pride in that, but that's not relevant to what
because you did project management with it, right?
Okay, that's true, actually, yeah.
So there's direct job skill relationship there. If you crochet,
crocheted, yeah, knitted,
or like I really like cats and cooking,
right?
Don't care.
Yeah, that's weird for your aunt on Facebook.
Don't care. Don't care.
So I agree from a resume perspective, like almost always you can get rid of that. Frankly, to a certain extent, and I didn't plan on this, we could even throw in the old paragraph summary at the top of your resume. Almost no one's reading that. There's nothing wrong with them. Sometimes I'll keep them because they make the formatting look really clean. But normally people are interested in what you've done, where you've done it, etc.
Kind of in this vein.
Professional experience, that is.
Yeah, kind of in this same vein. But again, I'm going to shut up.
Okay.
We need a little sound for bird walk.
Sure, of course.
I love that laugh. So the overuse of adjectives and the no one cares if you're proficient in the Microsoft suite, and everyone needs to be a hard worker for like there's just certain things that like stop it.
It's like the interview question where somebody goes,
what's your biggest weakness?
And you go, I try too hard.
I just work too hard.
I have to learn how to I have to learn how to unplug. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It was good at first. Whoever came up with it was pretty slick, but yeah, so I like some of these things because you'd be surprised how well you can bond with somebody in an interview on the fact that you both like the Packers, or you both love hunting, or you both do whatever. And those things have a purpose. I would just argue that's a LinkedIn thing, not a resume thing. Almost always.
Correct.
Now, the strength finders is a little different, and the volunteering could be if it's relevant, like you said, the project management thing. The strength finders thing is interesting if it just kind of shows like a little bit of the type of person you are, whether you're empathetic or you're super driven or whatever the hell it is. Those things can be good.
I agree with that.
It's just a little bit of an add-on at the end that, frankly, some recruiters would delete and some might kind of enjoy.
I agree. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's your spot.
Stop it on the resume. This is your professional. I mean, it's your resume. It's professional.
Right. And I've also seen a lot of people, and I've used it on occasion, because a lot of times people will label their job history. So you have things like summaries, education, technical skills, professional experience. I've seen people do the old additional job experience, which could be an example of what you meant if you wanted to hide a job. Like, you could put an additional job. You could do that related to volunteering too.
Yeah.
So
because
again, there's no hard rule here. It's just,
when I was a grad, I would highlight the fact that I held positions in my sorority and what I organized and how much money I raised and like and stuff like that to show like I have leadership skills.
Organized girl sleepovers.
You get that off your resume after you get your first job. Like, that's similar for grads.
And we talked about this with education in the last episode. Like, the second you walk into an undergrad is when you cut off the high school, right? So similar to this stuff, like, You trying to get a job, like one of my daughters is trying to get like experience, like working at Lifetime, to be a gym, to be a lifeguard. Totally cool. Some of those superfluous ancillary experiences might be relevant, but if you're even like a year or two into your career of choice, it's become irrelevant. It's become irrelevant. However, LinkedIn can be a cool place to do that. Because it shows a little bit of personality.
You got to start showing your personality or a personal website. I believe that, especially depending on your career.
Yeah, but for those of you out there, it's pretty cheap. Squarespace,
it's not hard.
Like the builder tools are cheap and easy, and you can put it together.
So much initiative.
It's kind of fun.
You make it about you.
But if it's not your thing, it's not your thing, and I get that. So,
but it is nice.
If you want to put hobbies, volunteering, etc., I would highly recommend doing LinkedIn at the bottom and then ignoring that on your resume.
Yeah.
That's probably the right tool.
I agree.
So anyhow. All right, that wraps up episode number 2 on resumes. So we're coming back with a brand new topic on the next go around. We have an entire double episode teed up in the near future regarding security.
And some guests.
Some guests coming in. Our operating rhythm, if you're curious, is going to be a couple of like basic business hiring, staffing, like getting jobs, keeping jobs topics. Then we're going to go into some specific technology topics because that's what we do. And we're going to choose security next. And we can talk about it, but we're clearly not experts, so that's why guests are coming in. And then in addition, we're going to do some episodes on things like just basic leadership skills, anything you want to call it, whether it be like grit or literally like how like hiring and firing management 101, like just basic stuff. So that's going to be kind of our quarterly theme.
What do you do if you have a talent gap? You're like no one to promote. Yeah.
What do you do when one of your skills is not calling out employees and you need to? So we're going to get into all of that. But we appreciate your time on episode number 2 of Resumes, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Hire and Fire podcast brought to you by Pirate Consulting. Please check us out online via LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or at our website, pirateconsulting.com. That's PIRA consulting.com.